The morning sunlight slipped through the thin curtains, gliding across the white sheets like soft strokes of paint. Deep sat at the edge of the bed, her hands trembling slightly as she pressed them to her chest. Something inside her felt different, almost electric. Her heartbeat was quick, her breath uneven, and that strange warmth rising from deep within seemed to whisper a secret she hadn't yet dared to believe. Outside, birds hummed in the stillness of dawn, their songs blending with the soft whistle of the kettle in the kitchen. The scent of jasmine tea drifted faintly through the air. James Liu had already left for work, early as always, but not without leaving a small folded note on the table. "Take care of yourself, my love. I'll be home for lunch." It was a ritual between them, one that spoke of affection built not from grand gestures but from constancy. Yet that morning, as Diep poured her tea, the familiar aroma turned strange. The sweet floral steam made her stomach twist unexpectedly. She froze, set the cup down, and leaned against the counter, a sudden wave of dizziness sweeping through her. Something was shifting inside her, something fragile and beautiful, though she dared not name it. Later that morning, Mother Lan, James's mother, dropped by, as she often did, carrying the warmth of family in her smile. But her sharp eyes immediately caught the faint pallor on Diep's face, the way her hand hovered protectively near her stomach. "Diep, are you feeling unwell?" she asked softly, concern threading her voice. Diep tried to smile, though her lips quivered slightly. I don't know, Mom. Maybe I just need some rest, but mothers see beyond words." Lan's gaze softened, and she placed a gentle hand on Diep's shoulder. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "happiness arrives quietly, even when we least expect it." "Maybe it's time to visit the doctor, my dear." The words lingered, luminous and light. Diep nodded faintly, a small, trembling smile forming on her lips. She didn't want to assume anything yet, but something within her, deeper than reason, felt certain that her world was about to change forever. The next morning dawned early and restless. Diep couldn't sleep, her heart beat with nervous excitement that rippled through every breath. After breakfast, she decided it was time. She walked to the small clinic at the end of the street, the same one where she had once brought flowers for the nurse who cared for James after his accident. But today, she came for herself. The waiting room was quiet, filled only with the faint rustle of magazines and the distant beeping of monitors. She clutched her bag tightly, her fingers cold, her mind racing. When the nurse finally called her name, Diep's legs felt weightless, as though her body was moving before her heart could catch up. Minutes stretched into hours, until the doctor returned, smiling warmly. "Congratulations, Mrs. Diep," he said gently. You're about 6 weeks pregnant." For a moment, time dissolved. The world outside the window disappeared. Her breath caught, then broke into a laugh that was half sob, half song. Pregnant. The word echoed through her like music, soft, impossible, and magnificent. Tears welled in her eyes as she pressed a trembling hand against her stomach. "So it's true," she whispered. The doctor handed her a small ultrasound image, a shadow, a spark, a beginning. Barely visible, yet it was life. It was love. It was the bond between her and James made real. On the way home, the world seemed to shine differently. The air was sharper, sweeter. Every tree, every sound, every shaft of sunlight felt alive with quiet wonder. She imagined James's face, the disbelief, the joy, the way his hands would tremble when he touched her belly. When she arrived home, she placed the ultrasound photo on the dining table and gazed at it, tears still shimmering on her lashes. "Your father doesn't know yet," she whispered to the tiny life inside her. "But he's the kind of man who will love you with his whole heart." And in that moment, she felt the sacred warmth of being both a woman and a mother. That evening, rain began to fall softly outside. The house glowed in the lamplight, the rhythm of the rain tapping gently against the windows. James returned home late, his shirt slightly damp, his face tired but softening when he saw Diep waiting for him at the table. "Diep," he said, setting his briefcase down. "You look different tonight. Did something happen?" Her fingers trembled around the folded ultrasound photo. Her heart raced. The words she was about to say felt enormous, too heavy for her voice. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer and took his hand. "James," she whispered, "I went to the doctor today." His brow furrowed instantly, concern flashing in his eyes. "Are you okay? What did they say?" Diep smiled, tears forming again. She placed the small photo in his palm. "They said, we're going to have a baby." For a few seconds, he didn't move. The world stilled. Then his gaze fell on the black and white image, and realization dawned, raw, tender, disbelieving. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly, as if afraid she might vanish. "Diep, are you serious? We're having a baby?" She nodded, laughing through her tears. "Yes, James. You're going to be a father." James's laughter broke free, not the composed laugh of a CEO, but the pure, boyish sound of wonder. He cupped her face, his voice trembling. "I don't know what I did to deserve this," he murmured, "but I promise I'll protect both of you, every day, every moment." At the doorway, Mother Lan stood quietly, tears glistening in her eyes. She didn't speak, only smiled, whispering to herself, "Finally, my son is a father." Outside, the rain grew heavier. Inside, the house bloomed with warmth. The storms of the past, all the pain and loss, melted into the soft hum of new life and new beginnings. The next morning arrived like a celebration. Sunlight spilled through the windows, bright and forgiving. James woke early, still half disbelieving the miracle that had taken root in their lives. Beside him, Diep slept peacefully, one hand resting protectively over her stomach. He brushed a strand of hair from her face and whispered with a smile, "Good morning, Mommy." She stirred, blinking sleepily, then smiled, that same smile that had once mended his brokenness. But now, it carried something deeper, the quiet glow of motherhood. Downstairs, Mother Lan was already in the kitchen, the aroma of warm porridge and jasmine tea filling the air. When they joined her, she teased gently, "The scent of motherhood suits you, Diep." Diep blushed. "Mom, please," Lan chuckled, eyes bright with affection. "I can finally rest knowing my son has both a loving wife and a child on the way." James placed his hand on Diep's shoulder. "We couldn't have done it without you, Mom." Breakfast was simple, porridge, bread, tea, yet it tasted sweeter than any feast. The house that once echoed with silence now brimmed with laughter, with the promise of new life. After breakfast, James took Diep into the garden. The sun had risen higher, the morning air carrying the scent of blossoms. He stopped and took her hands, his eyes filled with emotion. "You've given me more than love," he said. "You've given me a reason to be a better man, a better husband, and now, a father." Her eyes glistened. "And you've given me courage, to believe that happiness can grow from pain." They embraced beneath the soft rustle of leaves, sunlight threading through the branches. For the first time, they didn't feel like two people in love, they felt like a family. Somewhere inside Diep, a tiny heartbeat echoed in rhythm with theirs, days of gentle joy. Weeks passed, and their home filled with warmth. James began coming home early, no late meetings, no restless nights of worry. His priorities had shifted. The company could wait, these moments could not. As Diep's belly began to show, James would kneel before her, resting his hand over the curve. "Hey, little one," he whispered. "It's your dad. I can't wait to meet you." Diep laughed softly, brushing his hair. "You talk to the baby more than to me these days," he grinned. I'm talking to both of you, my two favorite people. Evenings passed in tender simplicity, shared meals, quiet sunsets, gentle laughter. Mother Lan sat nearby knitting tiny socks, smiling. You two are already acting like parents, she said. James chuckled. That's because I finally understand what really matters, Mom. Success isn't about power or money, it's about who's waiting for you at home. One evening, rain pattered gently against the windows. James brought out a small wooden box and handed it to her. Inside lay a delicate silver bracelet, engraved with the words, "For our forever." He slipped it onto her wrist. No matter how life changes, he said softly, I'll always be here, for you, for our child, for this family. Tears filled her eyes. We've both been hurt, she whispered. But maybe every wound was leading us here, to this moment. James kissed her forehead. Maybe love isn't about avoiding pain, he said. It's about healing together, again and again. Outside, the rain fell like a hymn, washing the world clean. Inside, the house glowed with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. That night, Diep rested her head on James's shoulder. The baby moved softly, a whisper of life. James smiled, holding them close. Yes, he thought. I'm a father now. But more than that, I'm home. The story of James Liu and Diep is more than a tale of romance. It's a quiet testament to endurance. Love, they learned, isn't built from perfection but from persistence. Every wound, every misunderstanding, became a lesson that drew them closer. Their story reminds us that love is not always gentle when it arrives. Sometimes it storms through chaos and pain, asking for courage before offering peace. Yet when two people choose to stay, to listen, to forgive, to grow, even the deepest scars can blossom into beauty. James once measured success by his empire, his titles, his control. But through Diep, he learned the truest success was far simpler, the warmth of coming home to someone who sees your heart. Diep, too, discovered that strength does not mean solitude. Letting someone care, share the weight, and walk beside her was not weakness, it was the bravest act of love. Together, they built a home where love could breathe, soft, imperfect, but unbreakable. And in that home, amidst laughter, tea, and the promise of new life, they discovered life's quiet truth. Love must be chosen, every day, in small ways, a word, a glance, a touch. Real happiness is not found at the end of the road. It's built step by step, hand in hand, through every storm and sunrise.